Well, I better tell you first of all how I got interested in all this. You see, I wasn't in the least concerned with anomalies when I started writing. My first book, which we called The Outsider, came out in 1956 when I was 24. And the result was a sort of overnight notoriety because it came out at the same time as a play called Look Back in Anger by John Osborne. And the result was that we were both labelled angry young men. And as the British sort of critical establishment hadn't had any new literary figures for a long time since the war, the result was that we suddenly got non-stop, stupid, silly publicity that just went on and on and on. Also, the books, the book and the play, they came out on the same day, at the end of May 1956, which in England is called the silly season, because for some reason in the summer there's no news. No one's ever worked out why there's no news in the summer, but apparently this is so. And so, every sort of stupid little thing they could find out about the angry young men they printed. And we got non-stop publicity. Went on for month after month after month. And in America, shortly after that, Jack Kerouac produced this book, On the Road, which launched the Beat Generation in America. And suddenly, you see, there was the Beat Generation and the Angry Young Men. There was even an anthology of that title. And the result was that we felt that it was stupid, but the critics thought it was even more stupid, and they attacked us really viciously. I think non-stop publicity is tremendously harmful. The result was that within 6 weeks of the publication of The Outsider, I was being attacked as a kind of literary fraud. People said, you know, it's quite an interesting book, but it's just full of quotations from other people's work. I better tell you briefly, what The Outsider is about is this. I'd always been fascinated by the fact that so many men of genius in the 19th century committed suicide. And they obviously committed suicide because they felt that life is fundamentally unsatisfactory. They had marvelous moments, sort of ecstatic moments, when they felt that the universe is so good that you would want to live forever. It's all symbolized for me by that painting of Van Gogh called The Starry Night, you know, that's in the museum in New York. The whole sky full of tremendous swirling clouds, a feeling of terrific vitality. And yet, within a year of painting that picture, he committed suicide, leaving a note that said, "Misery will never end." And I'd always wanted to answer this question, which is true, the Starry Night or the suicide note. That was my fundamental interest. And the same had happened with all of these other men of genius from the beginning of the 19th century. They'd had these moments of marvelous ecstasy and then waked up the next day with a feeling of, what was all that about? Everything had evaporated. And the feeling that you couldn't hang on to it. That you could get this feeling that the universe was wonderful, and then it had all gone. And the question, is it, therefore, total illusion? Well, the men of the 19th century tended to feel that it was. And so, from early on, from Goethe and Schiller, down through Wordsworth and Shelley and Keats and Byron and Blake and so on, there was a fundamental feeling that this world, the material world, is somehow a cheat. And reality lies elsewhere. But the question is where? And towards the end of the century, Yeats expressed this in a poem, a play called The Shadowy Waters, in which he says something like, what the world's million lips are searching for must be substantial somewhere. But of course it's not. And that's the reason that so many people killed themselves or died of, stupid diseases, like, Keats's tuberculosis, which I think was basically psychosomatic, and, died insane, like Nietzsche and Van Gogh. So, this was the basic question that interested me, and this is what I was writing about. Now, the thing was, I'd always felt that there's something wrong with this assumption that